Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Building a Better Fort, and the idea behind this series is that I'm going to be sharing my Dwarf Fortress knowledge with you to help you try and do better in your own games. So it's sort of a tutorial series, I suppose you could say. Now, I know I'm not the greatest Dwarf Fortress player out there, so if you are an experienced player of the game, then you probably don't need to watch this, if I'm honest. But if you are thinking of trying it and you've been put off by the learning curve, which is pretty steep, in fact it's practically a cliff, then you may want to pay attention. So, we're going to start with the starting point for any game, which is creating a world. So, you can either use this option, design a new world with advanced parameters. That's not really necessary, that's if you want to try out certain things. But what you probably will want to do is just select Create New World. Right, so this is the basic settings for your world, and so what you're going to want, well, we'll go through all these individually and see what you're going to want. So, world size. You don't really want smaller or pocket because things get all cramped together and it just isn't very good. So what you're going to want is, if you go for medium or large, there'll be obviously a lot to do and lots of sites available for building a fort, but they can take quite a long time to generate, so if you have possibly a slower PC, you may want to go for small, and that's fairly reasonable. But we're going to stick with medium for now. History. This is optional. If you want more of a sort of deep storytelling experience, especially if you're going to be playing adventurer mode, you'll want a longer history because then it'll have, historical events and there'll be basically a backstory if you care about that sort of thing. But it also does take quite a long time to generate as well, so we're going to go with very short just for speed purposes. Civilizations. This affects both fort and adventure mode, as obviously there's more civilizations to trade with or fight in Dwarf Fortress mode, and there's also more to visit in adventure mode, so medium is generally good for terms of balance. Number of sites. This more affects adventure mode than fortress mode, as it's the amount of stuff you'll want to visit. So obviously if you want a more interesting world, you'll go for the high and very high. If you want one where you can just wander around the countryside, or maybe for fortress mode, so there are fewer neighbours to invade, you go for low or very low. We're going to go again with medium, just for balance. Number of beasts. This is, I believe, things like forgotten beasts, titans, I'm not sure if it affects demons, but mega beasts, so the things that will eventually come and destroy you. So it depends how much of a challenge you want. If you want a very high challenge, then you'll obviously have a bit of a fight on your hands. I think you can also hunt them down in adventure mode, although I'm not really sure about that. So we're going to go with low, just for safety's sake. Obviously you could go very low, but that's boring. Natural savagery. I believe this affects the amount of evil biomes you get. So evil biomes are obviously not very good, unless you want adventure mode and you want to go explore them, but we're going to go with low. Mineral occurrence. So I'm not sure if this affects minerals. It does affect, I believe, gems. So we're going to go with frequent, so there aren't too many, but it doesn't take ages to find them. So once you do that, we just press Y to go, and Worldgen begins. Now obviously, again, depending on the settings, this can take quite a while. In fact, obviously it also rejects sometimes, so it can take some time, so we're just going to skip to the end. Right, so here's our finished world. You can look around it using the arrow keys, just get a general sense of where everything is. Look, there's one of those evil biomes we were talking about there. The Step of Goo, lovely. That's one of the joys of looking around. You can always laugh at the ridiculous place names. The Frilly Prairies, for instance. Right, so now what you can do is enter to accept, obviously. A, if you don't like it and you want to generate a new one for whatever reason. P is quite useful. P will export an image of it, a sort of map, to your Dwarf Fortress folder. and you might want to keep one of those on hand because you never know when it'll come in handy. So, right, now we've got our world, we can accept it. It'll just offload. This again can take a little bit of time, depending again on how long your history is and how big your world is. Those are the two main factors that are going to affect how long it takes your world to generate and load and stuff like that. And now we can start playing with our world. So I believe it is this bottom one here that we can then load up, and we're going to go with, well, what it might be an idea to do is if you first check out your world in Legends mode, because that can give you an idea of where civilizations are. So it's handy to look out for things like goblin fortresses and necromancer towers, because if you build your fort near one of those, you can expect invasions. If you manage to find an island or a valley completely surrounded by mountains and you build your fort in there, you will never actually get invaded by hostiles. You can still be attacked from things from below, but we'll probably cover that in a future episode. So for now we'll just go with Dwarf Fortress because we're going to show you how to find a good embark location. Right, founding a fortress. The more time you spend finding a good location, the better you will probably do. So for example, you can look out for, I believe that's already a pre-existing mountain halls or so. Actually, that's it. I'm not sure, but basically there's certain things you want to be looking for. So go over at the right there, you can see sort of the biome, the temperature, the tree levels. So what you're going to want is, biome doesn't matter too much. There's certain types of biome where, for example, things like water can go stagnant, which isn't ideal, but it's generally not too big of an issue. But so don't worry too much about the biome. Temperature, you ideally want warm, because that way any water sources you have won't freeze in the winter, and so you can use them to drink from. Trees, you definitely want at least some trees. If you have no trees, you're going to find it very hard to get off the ground because you won't be able to build things like beds or bins, which are both quite important, until merchants come and you can buy wood from them. Other vegetation, not too much of an issue really, unless you're planning to base your food industry off of gathered plants, which probably isn't the smartest idea. Surroundings, calm is ideal. Wilderness, you may get a few dangerous animals. There's also things like evil, which you definitely don't want unless you're looking for a challenge. But if it's your first fort, go for calm. Right, now a stream is ideal. If you find an area with a stream, then you can use UM, K and H to move around in the local area so that you actually settle, with the stream on your map. But you've got to be careful because where you get a stream, you often get an aquifer. It is very important if it's your first fort that you don't embark on a location with an aquifer, because that's basically a layer of rock that's full of groundwater, and so every time you dig through a tile, it turns into water. This can lead to very quick flooding and general death, and it can also be incredibly hard to find stone. You also don't want to build too near the sea because you'll get salt water which can't be drank, so you won't be able to fall back on water to drink from if your supplies of booze run out. Clay is not too important. If you want to do pottery and stuff, then obviously you will need it, but it's not vital. Soil is quite useful because you want to use that for farming, and also you want shallow metals and deep metals if you can. Watch it. Make sure it says metals and not metal, because you really want more than one metal. The sect juggler, the moist pusses. Oh, good God. So yeah, you want metals. Also, if you can find flux stone, go for that, because that is a key component if you're planning on making steel, and because steel is the second best material for weapons in the game after adamantium, but that has its own inherent risks, which we may cover further in the future. So, the easiest way to get where you want to go is to use find desired location, and then you can just set in what you want. So, who cares about that? We want a medium temperature, I think, because if you have, bear in mind, if you have a hot temperature, then your water can evaporate, so you don't want too hot either. Rain is fairly good because it refills your pools. Drainage, not too important. Fluxstone is good. Aquifer, oops, no. River, yes. Shallow metal, yes. Deep metal, yes. Actually, deep metal's not too important, so we'll leave it NA. Soil, NA, clay, NA. Right, and then you can start your search. This does take a long time as well, so we're just going to skip until this is finished. Okay, so here's a area that the search has thrown up. It looks pretty good. Temperate temperature, that's, you can work with that. Sparse trees, that's not especially ideal, but again, you can work with it. Other vegetation, who cares? Surrounding serene, that's very good, because I think that's even better than calm. And as you can see, we've got a little brook to drink from. We've got some soil, we've got shallow metals, we've got deep metals. So that's really everything you need to be getting on with, because anything else, such as fluxstone, you can really just buy from vendors, well, vendors, merchants. So we can embark. Right, I'd recommend that you prepare for the journey carefully, as this will sort your this will sort your dwarves out with, so you can really tailor what you bring with you and what your dwarves can do. So we've got 7 dwarves to start with. You can, if you so want, give them the nicknames from Snow White and the 7 dwarves. So for example, I could call this fella Grumpy. But anyway, so you'll definitely want at least 1 miner. So you want your miner to be doing a lot, so you might as well just make him a damn good miner. Actually, I'll knock him down a notch so we can save group points. Right, you'll also want a woodcutter, and because he won't be doing too much to start with, you might as well make him a carpenter as well. Better have to have skilled so he makes things at a better rate. You'll want a mason, who you'll also want to be an engraver, and you might as well make him a building designer just for simplicity. And we had a river, well, a brook, so we'll want a fisherman and a fish cleaner. So we'll make him a competent fisherman, and we'll also, actually no, right, we'll have a, where's fish, right, fish dice. Actually, now I think about it, it's not too important. I'll give him a couple of points in fish cleaner, but what I also want to give him is a couple of points in grower and a couple of points in brewer, because as we'll come to in later episodes, beer is very important to the survival of a fortress. What else do you need? So we've got our cutter, our carpenter, well, they're the same person, but there's a lot of stuff here you don't especially need. A mechanic might be useful if you're planning to, say, get straight off the bat with traps, which can be quite a good idea sometimes. We'll have a metalsmith furnace operator just in case. I'm probably setting this up all wrong, by the way, because I'm just kind of winging it right now. But we'll go with a furnace operator, and we'll also go with, a jeweler. Yeah, have a jeweler. And we've got a few points left, so we can actually, we can just up the skills of a few of our dwarves. So we'll make our miner better, and we'll make our mason better. And do we have enough for one more? For example, we make him better. Right, so you can also name your group if you want. I'll be honest, I quite like the Quake of Eviscerating, so we'll stick with that. You can name your fortress Inked Revere, but we could change it to, say, Ancient Back. No, Back, no. I buggered that up. Back, we'll have Back Acts. Sounds like a rather bad band name, but we'll go with it. Right, items, this is quite important. You want to check what you're taking with you. So we'll take 2 picks, that's generally a good idea. I'm not sure if we'll need 2 axes. So we'll knock down an axe, and that'll give us a few extra points. Plump helmet spawn, we could do with a few more of those, because plump helmet is a fantastically useful plant. Spawn, by the way, means seeds. It's just for mushrooms, I think they're called spawn. Right, cloth, that's all quite useful. Animals, right. What I'm going to get is a breeding pair of dogs. These I can then, actually, what would be better is be a breeding pair of war dogs. Because then you can continuously breed war dogs, and they basically act as early defense. And you can also use them later on for things like distractions and bait in more elaborate traps. So right, that should be everything sorted, and so we can embark. And next episode we'll deal with the intricacies of setting up the first bits of your fort and striking the earth, as it's called. And so I'll see you for that. And in the meantime, I don't know, I should think of something to say at the end of these, but bye. Oh, actually, one final tip. Whenever you're playing Dwarf Fortress, it might be an idea to have df.magmawiki.com. I'll put a link in the description. Open in the background, so just in Firefox or Chrome or something. And that it's a really useful wiki, and basically any problems you've got can probably be solved by that. So thank you for watching, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.